one opponent. So we really welcome the reminder of how important it is to think about our friends across borders and as well as ourselves. Yeah. So, is there anybody who would like to? There seems to be lots of questions.
I always have questions.
Somebody,
You don't start me off because I'll never stop.
well, somebody behind you has a question. We'll come back to you. Yeah.
Generally, what do you think the role of international pressure should be in fighting for LGBT rights? Like, how do you balance fighting for our rights with accusations of imperialism or like homosexuality as a Western construct?
I dream of an association of LGBT people and associates and friends and vows in solidarity, an association of so-called strangers. We would be called strangers in the nation states, I'm sure. And both Virginia Woolf in Free Guinness, the anti-fascist essays, and then other people were developing this concept of the community of strangers. And I think we are all strangers or strangeresses. Sarah will forgive me. A community of strangers that work together. We should somehow work together against calling us the Western conspiracy. We are called that in Poland, and I'm very conscious of that. And I don't know how to combat it, but I'm sure it's very important to revive in our own research, our own indigenous traditions of sisterhood and brotherhood that were there, for instance, in Slavonic cultures, especially in Russian culture. And I think through this research, but also through curating and art, and what is very special about Poland is that we have an alliance between feminism and LGBT movement. It's a very rare case, I guess. And this alliance really works. So such an alliance internationally, cosmopolitically, at a planetary level, would be something amazing for me, and I'm dreaming of that. And these messages, spreading the word is very important, and constructing the word. Marguerite Duras in 1968 said that all that remained of the revolution were words. And I think words are so important, images and words. Both, like our images of the civil partnerships here in Brighton, they remain. And I think if we publish together and if we correspond, that's something very important. Now with the social media, it's so easy to correspond. And I think correspondence is a great way to collaborate and to be in solidarity.
I just want to add to that as a researcher, I'm learning more and more about how much that gender identity and sexualities are not marginal to states and nations, but actually are central to their formation, the modern state, and that solidarity with indigenous people and colonized people is a way of liberating all of us from these, these mechanisms of the state that assign people to certain functions and certain roles socially. So I think there's a lot that's happening right now in terms of connecting with people transnationally and around the globe with indigenous resurgence movements and decolonization movements that really connects with these campaigns that are happening here in Europe to liberate the minoritized as part of it. So let's all, that's, as Tomasz says, we should correspond and not be, to allow ourselves to be familiar strangers and strangeresses with each other. Yeah.
Lou.
I do have something to say, which may not be very politically correct. There's all kinds of right-wing, there's all kinds of right-wing nationalist governments now across Europe, aren't they? And the Polish one is very particular. And you've either been cautious or I'm being incautious, but there's no question about it being linked to very high Catholic Church power, which hasn't been mentioned. And if we're going to explain what particularly is going on in Poland, I would have thought that should be noted.
Thank you, Lou. Yes, it's the elephant in the room. Precisely, it's fundamentalism that is driving the driving force. But fundamentalism that is spread by secular people. My governor, for instance, is a devout Catholic, and that's why he accuses me of all the possible evil, and it's he who is evil in all possible senses, even the Catholic one, I guess. Oh yes, he's on Radio Maria. You know, we have a fundamentalist radio station, anti-Semitic and anti-LGBT, that broadcast nationally. And my name was broadcast every weekend, every hour on the hour. And it's a great power, but the audibility of it diminishes, so I hope that it will soon go away. And Sarah Wilson.
I was also perhaps going to say something about the Catholicism, but it just reminds me that in France in the 1960s, when the gay movement was really becoming more prominent, they deliberately started a David and Jonathan Society, you know, which referring to the Bible. So maybe you should fight the Bible with the Bible, because it sounds like a very good idea. But we need some David and Jonathan S's too, of course.
Oh yes, yes, Sarah, thank you. And we do that. We research into David and Jonathan, into Ruth and Naomi, into a lot of motifs, and there's an association. What's the name? The rainbow and the faith and the rainbow. That is very much in the footsteps of the 60s in France. Thank you, Sarah. Yes.
Yeah, I would just like to say, I'm a chaplain from the University of Sussex.
Oh.
And I stand with you. And,
Thank you.
Not all Christians, yeah. And also, I run a discussion group every Thursday in the meeting house, and we address some of these issues. And people are very welcome to come along to the University of Brighton as well as Sussex. And I also chair Freedom from Torture in Brighton and Hove.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah,
thank you very much. I salute
aware
your
of
work.
the issues, and yeah, and generally speaking, I'd like to, you know,
Come to Poland.
sure, yeah.
Come to help us.
Yeah, absolutely, sure. If there is a scope for international
yes,
cooperation and collaboration on those issues, then actually you having a similar organisation in Poland where you can raise these issues, which are of international concern, yeah, and not just.
That's like Amnesty.
So let's talk
as
about.
well. We really
yes.
got to
Well,
get Amnesty involved.
Well, it came out of. I mean, the Medical Foundation came out of Amnesty with Helen Bandler. And so, sure.
So let's talk after
Indeed,
over
indeed.
a drink.
Yes,
later.
absolutely. Sure, cheers.
Can you help? Louise has a question.
I haven't really got a question.
It's not going to reach that far.
Very well.
Oh, thank you, Louise. Thank you.
I've just got a small thing that people might like to do. Is a while ago, a comrade made some postcards. Oops. They're from Brighton. It features Harry Cowley, and on the back it says "We stand as one," and on the front says "Another anti-fascist." So if I leave them, if people would fill them in for you with messages, maybe you could take them back. So you.
Oh yes,
and because
absolutely.
postcards are